Hi, I'm Jen, and thank you for watching my paintings today. I paint abstract portraits, and today I'm painting Kate Manser. Kate, whenever you're ready, if you could just tell us a little about yourself.
Well, my name is Kate. Some days I go by Kate the Great. Other days I just go by Kate. Good
Kate
days,
the Great, I
bad
love
days.
that.
Today it's kind of like a Kate the Great day. I'm feeling pretty good.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, you look great.
Oh, thank you.
Nothing.
I'm trying to incorporate more color into the world.
That's what I meant. I usually don't like to comment on people's appearances, but when you showed up in your yellow pants, I was like, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, some days if I wear the yellow pants and a blue shirt, I say, I am the sun.
Ooh,
I am the sun.
I love that. Oh.
But yeah, I'm 36 years old. I have been loosely based in Austin for the past 10, 11, 12 years, but for the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, I've been driving around the country with my dog in an RV.
How exciting! Wow, what kind of dog?
I have a pit bull. She is white with black spots, and her name is Pajamas.
Pajamas. I love that. That's very nice. And so you said you've been in your RV for 2 years?
Yeah, I try to do things that scare me, even though they're scary. And so a lot of the choices that I've made, especially since I had kind of an awakening about 8 years ago, have been scary and have been things that have been on my, I don't know if I like the term, but bucket list. So I quit a very good job here in Austin at Google about 7 years ago, and I traveled around the world for 2 years. And I feel like I'm bragging now, but I'll just continue because let's hair flip brag for a minute.
Yes!
And yeah, so I traveled around the world. Came up with this idea. I was so inspired at the time by this awakening that I had that I came up with the idea for a book. I eventually started this movement. I wrote and published the book, and I speak and I continue to write, and I guess now drive around the country with my dog because my dog's getting older. She's 12 now, and I always thought that I wanted to just to have this grand adventure with her. But I think we're coming to the end of RV life. I think at 2 years, we need something without wheels under us for a hot minute.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love your I don't feel like you were bragging. You're just giving your story. I love it. That's amazing. Oh, wow. Okay. So many questions. Do you mind sharing what you did when you were at Google?
Yeah, so it was one of those things, to make a short story long, which is that I almost didn't take the job at Google, and it ended up changing my life. When I took the job, I didn't understand that Google was like this well-paid, prestigious company to work for. And so I took the job, and it was a marketing job. I started by marketing Google Places. Then I spent a while marketing the long now gone Google Plus. If anybody remembers Google's attempt at a social network, it was Google Plus. And it was awesome, and I made good money at the time, but I kind of just felt like I was on the wrong movie set.
I love that. That's so great. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. So, and you said that was about 7 years ago?
Yeah, I left Google in the beginning of 2016.
And you started there?
2011, 12.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I love that you had your awareness of Google wasn't saturated. It hadn't saturated your awareness. That's really cool.
Well, one of the things that happened, and one of the reasons that other than I felt like I was on the wrong movie set, that I realized I had to leave, was because it got to a point where I was excited when I was at a party or out and about for someone to ask me, oh, so where do you work? Because then I could be like, oh, well, I work at this little company that maybe you've never heard of called Google. And I just give that anecdote because it was symbolic for me of realizing that I was getting a lot of my self-worth from my job. Wow. And I was like, that's really empty, actually. If I'm waiting for people and I can't wait to share this detail about me, to show people how cool I am because I have this cool corporate job, then my self-worth is really misplaced, and I need to go search around and find it.
Wow. So where did you start your search?
Well, I left Google.
Okay.
And I, at the time, I was having this big awakening in a lot of ways relating to self-worth and what I wanted in life and death and my realization of my mortality. I had had 3 friends die in the span of 6 months, and they were all around my same age.
Oh.
So the first way that I reacted was in total fear. Because suddenly I began to feel like death was hiding out for me around every corner. If they can die at any moment, so could I. And after a year of living in deep death anxiety and being afraid of driving, being outside my house, constantly Googling weird diseases on Google that I didn't have, a 4th friend of mine died.
Oh my.
And his name was Dan Friedenberg. He was climbing Mount Everest when the Nepal earthquake struck in 2015. And you'd think that would have made me more scared of dying, but it actually did the opposite. It made me realize that you can bravely live your truth with the precious time and energy that we have in life, or you can try not to die, which is what I was doing. We have all a limited amount of time and energy in our lives. We can put it towards trying to live or put it towards living in fear and trying to die. And so after Dan died, that was when I realized that, man, you might die tomorrow. I thought it was the most terrifying thing, and it's actually gives me the most courage, presence, gratitude, and urgency than anything I've ever come across.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And so after you quit, you kind of wiped the slate clean, so to speak. And did you like start archery lessons or join a bowling league? Like, how did you like start to add things back?
Well, I'm very klutzy. I don't know that archery is in anyone's best interest for me to attempt. But yeah, I did this 2-year trip around the world. I did all this amazing stuff. I did climb to Annapurna Base Camp, not the peak, the base camp in honor of Dan. And I did other stuff. I visited a lot of monasteries, became a yoga and meditation teacher. In that time, I also brought a large-scale art installation to Burning Man, which was a really big deal for me. And then I came back from the trip when I started running out of money, and everything was wonderful. No.
Oh. I was like, of course it was.
No, it wasn't. It was like, oh my gosh, reality. You'd think I was this like enlightened person who had visited monasteries and done my eat, pray, love journey. And of course everything. No, I got mad about bills again. I got stressed about work. I got frustrated in traffic. And that was when I realized that I had been chasing all around the world looking for this sensation of feeling alive.
Okay.
And that's really cool. It's cool to travel. It's cool to explore new things. It's cool to pick up archery as long as you're not going to kill anybody with it. But that truly feeling alive, what I discovered, is in the simple small moments as well. We can't overlook those because truly the collection of small moments are going to make up far more of the not only quantity but also the quality of our life, rather than the big life shifts like a career change or a relationship or a big trip. And so that was when I realized that the true quest of my life is to figure out how to be happy when I'm standing behind the sink doing dishes. And when I'm caught in traffic, and when I see a beautiful sky outside my window. And that's the quest I'm on now and will probably be on for the rest of my life.
Wow. That's really cool. Sounds so like a big whirlwind. Did you have a favorite surprise on your travels?
A favorite surprise on my travels.
Like, for example, when I traveled around the world, I was very pleasantly surprised by hiking a volcano for the first time and the immense gratitude I felt by witnessing such natural beauty.
Favorite moments not only in travel but in all of life, when we just get dumbstruck by something, where something that we believe then gets proven wrong, or we have a new idea that blows it open. I love that like feeling of just gobsmacked humility that comes. And one moment that really sticks out for me on my travels happened actually relatively early in the trip. I was on this distant island. It's actually the farthest eastern island of Indonesia. It's right next to Papua New Guinea. It's called Roti Island in Indonesia. And there were like no tourists there. I actually went there sort of to be alone, and I also sort of hoped there would be some hot surfers there. There was no waves, so it was mostly just me and the locals. So I'm walking on the beach one day, and this man and woman, this couple, are walking toward me, and we sort of pause to like nod or smile, and the lady notices this beautiful beaded bracelet that I had bought when I was just in Bali. And so we can't speak the same language, but she's sort of pointing, saying that bagus is the Indonesian word for beautiful. She's like, bagus, bagus. And so I took the bracelet off and I gave it to her, and she was really grateful. And they had these amazing, if you ever go to Indonesia, make sure you eat the peanuts there. They're the best peanuts you'll ever eat in your life. So they had these fresh roasted peanuts that they had probably grown, and they were handing me peanuts because they were so grateful that I had given her this bracelet. And we're sort of, the whole, we don't speak the same language, speaking but not speaking. And then they grab my hand and they start taking me up the beach, and I get the gist that we're going to their house. And I'm like, you have to, when you're doing that by yourself, especially as a female traveler, you have to be very aware of your intuition and are there any warning bells going off? But we felt cool. Kate felt like this is gonna be good. So I followed them into their house, which was right on the beach in this small island, and they plopped me in a chair, and it was a dirt floor, and I'm plopped in this wooden chair. And there's a single light bulb hanging from a chain and one single bed. And there must have been 9 people in there that lived in that house. And before I know it, there is a baby in one of my arms. And in the other arm was a cup of hot Indonesian coffee. And they're just fawning over me. They're just the kids are showing me their teddy bear, and the adults are asking me questions that I can't understand. They're showing me this weaving work that they do. And I just felt so welcomed in their home, which was incredibly simple. I mean, it was essentially, I don't really like to use this word, but a shack. It had a dirt floor. It was kind of cinder block and a thatched roof, the one single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. And I left there that afternoon, first of all, totally humbled by their hospitality. And second of all, realizing how many missed opportunities I had, because I used to live in downtown Austin, and it was basically a studio. It was really, really small. But I always felt, my place is too small. I can't invite people over. If someone came to stay with me, I don't really have an extra bed, and I don't know if they'd feel comfortable sleeping in my bed when I sleep. I just had all these reasons to not invite people and welcome them into my home. But ever since that day, that those people with a dirt floor and a single hanging light bulb invited me into their home and made me feel like a queen, I realized that it's not about what we have, it's about what we give. And that's the travel story that we hope for, I think, when we travel, and that I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
Wow. Did you stay in touch with them, or?
No, I don't even know their names.
Wow.
No, I mean, I don't even know if they have phones. It was literally just this one profound interaction. They were changed, I'm sure, in some way by me. I was profoundly changed by them as well.
Wow. And since you've undergone all this change, what's something you do daily that is different from what you didn't do before, or what you did do before?
I think about every day, at least for one moment, or in a passing thought, or as I make a tough decision, or as I'm deciding how to respond to a particular interaction in my life, I think about how I'm going to die. And I think about how I don't know how long I have, and I allow that to help me make tough decisions and pop myself out of decision paralysis and figure out what my priorities are when things are crazy, and to remind myself to be courageous and to let my true self shine through. But thinking about death is really, there's a lot of other things I do, meditation, that positively impact my life since I've had my awakening, but thinking about death is the biggest.
Wow. That's complete opposite for me. never thought I'd live this long. So now that I never thought I'd live to be 40. So I'm 42 now. And I'm like, well, chances are I'm going to hang out for another 40 years. Got to figure out what I'm going to do.
Yes! Bonus years.
Yeah. Right? This is a great equalizer. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is. Austin having been my home base for such a long time, I'm kind of feeling something new. So if you have any recommendations, I was looking at maybe New Orleans. I've always wanted to live for a year or two in New York. I have a lot of friends up in the Bay Area. And of course, I really want to live in another country. But Pajamas, she can't fit in your lap on the airplane. So we're probably not going to be flying over oceans right now. So I think we'll stay in the contiguous United States or maybe Mexico, but probably the U.S.
Nice. So you like the heat?
No, it's going to be too hot. That's one reason I'm like, I could go to New Orleans, but that should probably be gone by June. And it's like, okay, Kate, you're trying to put down roots here.
Yeah.
I grew up moving around.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's a nature, nurture, or both, but I think once it's in your blood, moving around.
It's hard to stay put.
Yeah.
Yeah, you either rebel and only stay in one spot no matter what, or you keep on doing it. Because I moved around a lot too, and my sister has lived in the same house since 1997. And
See?
And I'm the opposite. I'm like, so I keep on going. But that's cool. I was gonna say Portland. I was in Portland last year, and that was so nice. I like that. I like having a good public transportation system. And everyone was very friendly, and it's a real nice vibe for artists. Plus, there is a beach there, whether or not you actually use it.
Oh, true. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe a rocky beach.
Yeah.
To just relaxedly lay on boulders, but enjoy the beautiful. I mean, the ocean is so rugged and beautiful.
Yeah, and there's something so soothing about hearing the waves. And witnessing the ever-changing, you can't be stagnant if what you're looking at constantly changes. So it's nice. So, yeah.
Love the ocean.
Yeah. Have you been down to Galveston?
I went to Port Aransas once, and it was shortly after I moved from Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And I don't recommend that you go to Port Aransas shortly after you move from Santa Barbara and think that you're just going to the beach. It's it's lovely there. It is lovely there. But when you have the Santa Barbara beach in your mind and then you get to Port Aransas, you're like, whoa, what's happening here? What's happening here? I need to reassort my reality. Which actually, the reassortment of reality makes me think of something that I think is growing in awareness right now, but not a lot of people know about, which is many of us have heard of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, right?
Yeah, sure.
And typically when one of the reasons, and I am actually just starting my master's in psychology, but I am not a degreed psychologist right now, so take this with every grain of salt that you will. However, I've done a lot of research into this, and when we have PTSD, let's say someone dies, and we didn't know, that year that I was in deep death anxiety, I think that was a form of PTSD because my assumption of reality that I was going to get to live to be 87, we'll say 88 because 8's my lucky number, that I was going to get to live to be 88 was totally blown up. And so I was left just not understanding life and death and how long I was going to get to live, and I felt very unsafe in that reality. Mm. But there is also something called PTG, which is called post-traumatic growth, which is a phenomena that can occur, and I definitely believe it occurred within me, which is that when we are in post-traumatic stress or some form of trauma, and all of the shards of our assumed reality are at our feet, PTG is then our ability to reassemble our worldview based on that new information. So for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I can die at any moment. That's terrifying. But then I was able to reassemble my worldview saying, okay, death is something that will happen to everyone. And yes, I don't know when it's going to happen. Neither does anyone else. And actually, death can be very motivating. It can create this clarity and this motivation and this urgency. And so I was able to reassemble my worldview with death and the mystery of death as something that I could understand and can rely on. And that's where PTG, post-traumatic growth, occurs, is when we can reassemble that reality and in almost all cases become better for it, become stronger, have a better understanding of the world and ourselves.
Wow. That's really cool. Yeah, that makes sense. And so, or when did you start grad school?
I started next week, actually.
Yeah. Congratulations!
Thanks.
That's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm going to be a Master's of Science in Psychology, Spirituality, and Consciousness.
Wow, that's a big one. That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm not a details person. We're in my zone of genius is like the bird's eye view. Life, death, happiness, sadness, right? Like bold, bright colors. Details are where I struggle. I need other people's help. I really have to work to dot my I's and cross my T's. But yeah, the big ideas I love.
And so, well, what are you hoping to be able to implement after your education?
Well, I have had an idea for my next book that I will be learning a lot about. So the specific psychology that I'm going to specialize in is called transpersonal psychology. And a big aspect of transpersonal psychology is the study of transcendent experiences. And while most people tend to think of transcendent experiences as, the Jesus picture falling off the wall and the mountaintop meditation with the guru, I believe that we can experience transcendent experiences every day. I think you were probably having some degree of a transcendent experience every time you pick up your art supplies and do this, right? Like you're in the zone. This is feeling alive. This is a transcendent experience.
Absolutely.
And so my goal is, as I'm studying this degree, other than the fact that I just love learning, I'm hoping to research and write my next book alongside this program.
Cool. And you had mentioned that you're not sure where you're going to put down roots. Does that mean it's an online program?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's out of the UK, actually.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, mostly I chose the UK program, yes, because it is exactly what I want to study and exactly what I want to specialize in. And it's a really cool program where you get to have live classes online. It's not just all pre-recorded stuff. And also because it's like half the price of American master's programs. Yeah. For a 3-year program that I'm doing, it's about $16,000.
That's amazing.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah. And sometimes, we got to hustle. We got to, we got to choose where we're going to get our debt and not get our debt and
get our DE80 or DEBT?
BT.
Okay.
Well, yeah, maybe all of the above, but the DEBT. Yeah, I just figured that I didn't want to take on a lot of debt for the program. And I found this great thing that I feel really excited about. And so next week.
Yay! Very cool, very cool. So many wonderful things. I love that you really are the author of your own story. You really are when you're it's time for a change, you go and select a change that you want to make. You really choose your own adventure.
Oh, well, thank you for that reflection. I think a lot of times when we read a book from an author or hire a coach or, get a mentor, we want somebody who does something at 100% so that we can learn how to do it at 50%, because it's not that often when we're going to just learn, not only learn something fully, but that we're going to have the same gusto as everyone. And so I am really good at making big changes and taking calculated risks. And I don't necessarily recommend that everyone gets to the place that I am at in terms of that. But I do help my clients and my students get to 50% in terms of that. And that's, if you want to go 100, man. You might die tomorrow. Do it. But I specialize in making big decisions and taking big steps.
With your clients.
With my own life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I help clients and friends and whoever do it as well.
And you mentioned your clients, like you're a life coach?
Yeah.
Clients?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. That's really neat. When did you start doing that?
I've been doing it for a couple of years.
Okay.
I really love it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's about I have a lot of interest. I'm a multi-passionate person.
Yes.
And those of you who, like me, are multi-passionate, which it sounds like you are as well.
Yeah.
Just think about how much better it is to be multi-passionate and all over the place as opposed to being apathetic and not wanting to do anything, right? And so, the coaching I do is like 20% of my time, and then art and writing and speaking all are 10,
Nice.
20, 30 different percent.
What kind of art do you do?
Well, I've brought a couple of large-scale art installations to Burning Man.
Right. Oh my gosh. I forgot about Burning Man.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I just got back literally like a week ago.
Amazing. So what was your Burning Man? Did you have a theme for your dress? Did it match your installation? Did it match your tent, your makeshift tent thing?
Oh my gosh, I love your vision. This is amazing. Now I'm inspired. Okay, match tent to dress to art. Check.
Well, so I had friends who went to Burning Man, and I helped design their vehicle. So it can't look like a vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted a lightning bug. And so I helped them make that to make it. And then their theme was animals. So they each had fake fur heads that were a lion and a tiger and stuff like that.
This year?
Oh, no, this was
a long time ago. Okay, because the theme this year was Animalia.
Oh,
people
wow.
do animal stuff every year, but I was curious if it was this year.
And then you also have, because I've never been, so then you also have to bring things to share and stuff, right? So, okay. So as much as you want to share, let us know.
Totally,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I went to Burning Man. I didn't know what it was until when I was at Google. A former boss of mine at Google started a startup and then tried to poach me and a few of my other coworkers. And they put this whole thing together about all the benefits of the company if we were to abandon ship at Google and go to his startup. And in that list, one of the things was, one of the perks of working in this company is you will get a week off to go to Burning Man or the event of your choice every year. And I was like, what is that? So I start Googling it. And of course you go down a rabbit hole. And it took me still a few years after that to go to my first burn. My first one was in 2016, which was the year that I left Google, started on this big round the world trip. I had to come back to the US for my sister's wedding, and it just happened to be around the time of Burning Man as well. So I was like, okay, let's do it. It's part of this adventure. And Dan, my friend who died on Everest, he was also a big burner. So I was very intrigued and wanted to also go in his example and his honor. And now, this was my 8th year, and I feel like I'm not saying I'll never go back, but I've reached a point where the revolution, and it was a big revolution has happened within me thanks to Burning Man, but it's kind of okay, there's a whole great big world out there. I want to go to all these different places in Africa, and also I want to be with my dog. But the main thing that Burning Man taught me is that anyone can be an artist. And I'm very passionate about that idea. Not only anyone can be an artist, meaning anyone can paint, anyone can sculpt, whatever, but also we're all the artists of our lives. And when we are given a palette with such a clean slate and such encouragement for self-expression, such is Burning Man, suddenly we begin to step more fully into that identity as an artist. And that's what happened to me. So not only was that in the cool things that I wore, right? These I have this amazing, huge pink skirt and these lighted headpieces that I made. And I made a rainbow out of pool noodles that I wear as wings that I match with the outfit. And so, yeah, definitely in the clothes. But also when I realized that there's no jury for whether you can bring art to Burning Man or not. You literally just need to like fill out a form, and they want to make sure that you're not going to hurt anybody. And then you can bring whatever you want. And you can set up this large scale, multi-story art installation, and nobody's going to tell you that you can't do it. You just have to take the initiative to do it. And that blew my mind. Because I always felt like, oh, I can't be an artist because people are going to side-eye me. Oh, I can't say that I'm an artist because my art isn't good enough. But suddenly it was like the only thing that's stopping you is you.
Yeah.
And so when I brought my first art installation in 2018, it was really funny because, you know, I thought it was this big art thing. I thought it was huge. And I got it out there. And when you're in the flat desert abyss and it's miles, this huge art piece that you built in your garage looks so tiny and janky. Like, it looked so dumb. But in my mind, it was huge. But, you know, I still built it and I was still proud of it. And I felt like it was going to be meaningful. And what it was it was a big sign. It was like an 8-foot tall by 8-foot wide sign that said, "You might die tomorrow." And usually, like, I have stickers. That's the name of my movement. You might die tomorrow, so live today. That's the title of my book. That's my, you know, the stickers, people buy my t-shirts. And it says, you might die tomorrow, so live today. But at Burning Man, I was like, you know what? We don't need the so live today. We can just throw it out there. You might die tomorrow. And people can glean their own meaning of it. And the funny thing that happened was, you know, I got there and I felt like it was really janky. But I was like, you know, I'm going to do this. And so I put it up. And, you know, every day I would check on it because you have to make sure that it's lit at night for safety. And you want to check on it to make sure nothing fell down. Right. So one night at about 2 a.m, I biked up to the art piece. I was out and about anyways. And everything looked okay. But as I got a little bit closer, I noticed some gold thing on the ground right in front of the art piece that I had not put there. So I bike up a little bit closer. I get off my bike. I pick it up. It is a golden trophy of a donkey's ass, and written on the plaque on the bottom of the trophy, it said, "Worst art, Burning Man 2018. And at first my stomach dropped, like, oh, poor me, I made bad art. People are judging me. And then I was like, actually, I got an award at Burning Man. This is amazing.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh.
And so I was so like stunned by this that, you know, I put the thing down, and by the next morning when I came back, someone had stolen it.
Aww.
But the cool thing that I learned out of that whole thing was like, who cares?
Yeah.
Make janky art. Make any art. Do something that lights you up. And I've heard about this thing about how in our artwork or in any work, there's this gap between where we start and where we want to be. And as we continue to practice, the gap gets smaller. But more than likely, the gap is never going to be closed. Because we always think that we can be better. We always get new ideas, new inspiration. We evolve and we think our old art is crap. But that experience with the worst art trophy just really made me see that, you know, and at Burning Man, it has become a lot more about the really big, beautiful, sexy art that's like, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But also how in the time since that art piece, I have seen my piece come up on Google, on social media. I have had people write me letters that said, that art piece changed my life. That was my favorite art at Burning Man that year. That's one of my favorite Burning Man art pieces of all time. And I'm like, my janky POS? And truly, it just shows, like, make any art, make shitty art, because we don't know how it's going to be taken by the people in the world that we put it out to.
Wow, I just got chills. That's amazing. Wow. I gotta let that sink in a little bit.
Well, and that's what you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
You're making weird art, like
Yeah.
You're doing your own thing, and you're probably at some moments feeling around in the dark, like nobody's really done this exactly before, and but that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I've heard that there's been the Burning Man community has found places to store those large pieces, but it also, like, they don't want to just store them. They want them to be seen. kind of thing. Like that's like a big conflict, a big problem is like finding places to put them after the year, right?
Oh yeah.
Where's yours?
Mine is it's at my parents' house. Yeah, they put it up on the side of their. I actually exhibited it at several events around Austin after Burning Man, and I brought it somewhere recently. I don't remember, but I still bring it out now and then. But it's my parents just hung it up on their fence recently. But yeah, it is. You'd be shocked, right? Because these art pieces are so beautiful, but how difficult it can be to find a home for them, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of beautiful Burning Man art pieces that are living in a garage or in storage or sitting in a field somewhere. And I feel really passionate again about that idea that for me, I really came alive when I realized and I was able to say I am an artist. And that doesn't mean that, oh, I can pick up a brush and paint. It's like, oh, I am the artist of my life. Oh, I can have creative license to create what I want, to color outside the lines in my life or in my work. And I really feel passionate about teaching that not only to other adults, but to other kids. Kids. So my next dream, I'm putting it out in the universe, all right, we're manifesting, is that I have this dream to create something called Neon High Art Ranch. And it is not only a place for some of these sculptures to come to and that people can experience the awe that comes from standing at the base of a 2 and 3 story high art sculpture, but there's also a meditation studio on site to experience what it's like to get rid of all the noise and really get in touch with ourselves. And there's also, of course, an art studio so that we can get wild and throw paint. And an integral part of my vision for this art ranch is bringing kids, in particular low-income kids, to have them come out and experience nature, to experience art, and to get exposed to meditation and quiet and joy and creativity at a young age. Because I just think, oh my gosh, I didn't even begin to think that I was an artist until I was 30. Imagine if I had been told that you don't have to be a good pencil sketcher to be called an artist when I was 12.
Yeah. Oh wow, so many things to talk about. Well, one is the only person who can give you the label of artist is yourself, right? So like, no matter what you do, if you don't call yourself an artist, nobody else will. Mm-mm. Like,
own that.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm feeling it now. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, as a kid, I took art classes and, I couldn't draw a deer. And so I thought I was a bad artist.
See?
Right?
Oh my gosh.
And didn't, so I feel like that's the avenue that a lot of people, or like they're only exposed to something once and it turns out to be a negative experience. Like I've had plenty of friends who like have taken one dance class that was where everyone else was like expert level in a beginner class. And they're like, oh no, I don't dance because of that one time. And it's like, well, that's not the whole world of dance. Like you can go and be a beginner. So I feel like, yeah, I love that you're helping people find exposure. And I would imagine that if it's going to be open to low income kids, then there'd be like ways for them to make it part of their life. Right. So that's wild. That's I love that. Wow.
It's a dream.
Yeah.
I think it will come true. I believe it will come true. I can see the place. I can imagine myself there. I can imagine these kids leaving and the trajectory of their lives being altered as a result of this really positive experience.
Yes. Have you heard of binaural beats?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts on them?
Well, I mean, as a person with ADD to some degree, I I don't normally listen to binaural beats when I'm working. The lo-fi, especially the Lush lo-fi playlist on Spotify. I'm looking at you. It's like that's where I can like enter the zone.
Oh wow.
But my understanding is that binaural beats stimulates both sides of the brain. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and it can alter like your brain's frequency. So like I started binaural beats when they weren't sure if it was real.
Oh, you were the experimental version.
Like there was like one app, it had 5 different beats, and it was like cure a headache, find focus, go to sleep, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care if it works for me. I don't care if it's real.
Oh, you felt it right away.
Yeah. And now there's actually been science, like if you listen to it the same frequency for 7 minutes, it can change your frequency. So like I use it for everything, especially when I'm like on a walk or working out. I've totally will help. Like if I'm like I have anxious thoughts, but I want to think about work or something, then I can put on like a consciousness one, or there's ones for like whole being generation, just like so much. It's such a great tool to have. And so I love that. But I've never talked with like someone who's more of a mental health professional about it. Oh yeah. But,
enthusiast,
yeah.
soon to be professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, your work and your books and stuff, I would say that makes you a professional. Maybe not like qualified to speak on it in a
Court of
courtroom.
law. Yeah.
But in everyday life, like you've done research, you have like experiences, like.
Oh man, I feel like by the time I finished my first book,
yeah,
I felt like I did enough work and research into psychology that I had the equivalent of a master's degree in my own mind.
Yeah.
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 But now I'm going to get the actual one, get some letters after my name, see if people will take me seriously. Not just joking. Half joking. I mean, it's true. I mean, that is part of the reason that I'm so like, be an artist, do what you want. And I do have a lot of freedom in my life, but I still am beholden to some of these societal mores that, and sense of imposter syndrome that we all have. Like,
sure.
Oh my God. Another reason why I'm getting the master's is because, it will be cool to have some letters after my name. And maybe there will be some people that will now, let me onto their stage that maybe wouldn't have before. And maybe I'll respect myself a little bit more. Again, we're getting into territory of like, should I be getting self-respect and self-worth out of a piece of paper from society? Like, no. Am I aware of that? And is that where most of my self-worth is coming from? No. And I'm working on finding that intrinsic sense of self-worth. And the reality is like, actually, I went into a really deep depression last year, especially in the second half of last year. And nothing really happened. I mean, some aspects of my life were suboptimal, but there was no big tragedy. And one of the things that I realized, and this was around the time that, I don't know if you know what Meow Wolf is, but one of the co-founders of Meow Wolf committed suicide. No. I think we're in September. This is Suicide Awareness Month. Let's talk about this. Sure. Which is that one of the co-founders of Meow Wolf committed suicide or chose to end their lives, actually, is what we say now, as well as an artist that I really respect. And then shortly after that was when Twitch, Ellen's DJ and the very talented musician, also opted to do the same. And I just saw these people, and this was at a time that I was like, I want to be successful. I'm feeling not worthy because I'm not at the level that I want to be. Mm-hmm. And I saw these people who are at the level that I want to be, and they're clearly not doing well if they're choosing to end their lives. Right. And so I began this deep study at the end of last year, looking at where does our self-worth come from? Like really trying to hone in on where my self-worth comes from. And is it from pleasing my parents or doing what I think society wants me to do or being who I think I should be? And can I feel worthy if I never speak on another stage, never make $1 million and never write another book? Can I feel worthy if I bring soup to my neighbor when she's sick? right? Like, is that good enough? And so then that really got me thinking about how if you are a person who wants to have success in your life, that if we don't do the self-worth work to discover our true intrinsic value separate from our achievements, that if you're a person who is on the path to success, all you're doing is getting positive feedback about how your achievements are the best part about you. And so that just gets reinforced and reinforced and reinforced until you get to a high level of success and you just feel empty. Because you're like, oh, everybody loves me for what I do. Nobody cares about who I am. And so that's where I realized that I have a lot of work to do in terms of my self-worth to build up my intrinsic self-worth, that Kate is a cool person just because I'm Kate. And that I'm cool as long as I'm nice to people, and I'm cool as long as I'm loving, and I have a desire to be a more loving and patient and kind person. And I'm still working on it. It's absolutely a work in progress, and I mess up every day. But if you're questioning where your self-worth comes from, I encourage you to do the work now, because I think it doesn't necessarily automatically get better. It's not to say we're going to end up wanting to end our lives, but that we should be working to fill ourselves with what really matters about us, as opposed to just spending all of our time chasing after these achievements and get caught up in it like I did.
Yeah, so like intrinsic self-worth versus extrinsic.
Yeah.
Right.
Like achievements versus who you are. Like how the corner of your eye crinkles up when you smile. Like, that's really unique. That's really a beautiful aspect of you. The way you talk, the way you love, all of those things. Those are part of our intrinsic value.
Yeah. My therapist talks a lot about the human being versus the human doing, and that every human being is perfect and special and whole and complete. It's just that sometimes the human doing doesn't go with what the human being wants. And like how to right size those two things.
Well said by the therapist.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's great.
The human being versus the human doing.
Yeah.
And we get caught up in the doing and focusing on improving the doing, as opposed to appreciating and building up the bees, the human bees.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So is there something that you practice, like when you're feeling blue, to help you focus on the human being and versus the human doing? Like to help, is there something that you do to like help bring yourself up, elevate your...
Oh yeah. The two main things that I have found helped me just on a daily basis, if I'm feeling down or if I am like getting in a darker drab place.
Right.
Number one is I have what I call alive moments.
Okay.
And I believe that alive moments can come spontaneously when, sometimes you're just walking your dog around your neighborhood and you see this really beautiful tree, and then you look down at your dog and then you feel the breeze on your skin and you're like, oh my God, life is beautiful and I'm alive. And that's an alive moment where we have this like meta awareness that we're alive and life is beautiful, and like it's sometimes it brings tears to your eyes because it's also magnificent.
Yes.
But I also believe that we can cultivate alive moments, and that's what I'm talking about, these everyday transcendent experiences that we talked about earlier, which is like, if we are having a hard time, we're feeling empty, or we're having a tough day, we can take a moment to look out the window. For me, looking at the sky or looking at nature really gets me there.
Gotcha.
But looking at that and just observing like how beautiful the sky is, or looking at a shard of light as it comes through your window onto the ground, and we can just start to say, you know what, this is a tough moment, but there's still so much beauty in the world, and I'm alive, and let's keep going, right? Like the little, that alive moment pep talk.
Yes.
So those are the alive moments,
Okay.
the spontaneous ones, and the ones we create. And then the other way that I bring myself out of a dark place, and it happened for me around January 1st this year. I was in one of the darkest places of my life. Like I said, we were not good. Kate was not good. And suddenly I realized, not suddenly, but over the span of a short amount of time, I realized like, I'm really tired of swimming around in my own crap. Like, honestly, I just like, I'm thinking how everything in my life is terrible. Nothing is working out. Everything sucks. Nobody loves me. I'm so alone. And that was when I realized that the second way to get myself, and maybe this might resonate with you as well, out of a dark place, is to manually change our minds toward positivity and stop thinking those negative thoughts and force ourselves to think positive thoughts even when it's frustrating. And I like to think about it like a big old barge. You got a big old barge on the open ocean, and when you're going to turn a barge, it don't just like take a right. Don't just like flip a Louis. When you're turning a barge, you have to turn, and it takes this big 90-degree thing. And when you're in a dark place and your mind is wired for negative thinking, that's
hard.
It's hard. It's moving the barge. It's going to be slow and creaky and painful, and you're going to want to just keep going the way that you were. But that is one truth that I learned, at least for me this year, was I had to do the reps. It's like lifting weights of redirecting my negative thoughts to positive thoughts, redirecting my negative thoughts to peaceful thoughts, and doing that over and over again rewired my brain. It kind of rewired my spirit, and it's not sexy work, but I'm here to tell you that I was in one of the darkest places of my life, and I sit here today in one of the best places of my life. Yes. And I'm sure I'll go down again, and I'll have to turn the barge once more.
Yes. Okay. So like what was the term you used? Manual adjustment?
Oh yeah.
Like, is that what you said?
It's a manual adjustment. It's like we can't wait because since when I was really, really down, when I was depressed until now, not that much about my life circumstances have changed. It wasn't external stuff that got better. It was me just deciding I was tired of swimming around in my own negativity, and that I was ready to do the work to get out.
And so like, are we talking like affirmations that you repeat to yourself, or are we talking like what you said, going out into nature to manually change your outward experience, or or both, or
I think it's a lot of things. For me, I definitely didn't do it alone. I hired a coach. I visited a medium. I have my therapist, who I absolutely adore and have been seeing for a long time. It was also getting out into nature. It's also just really trying to notice when I was thinking, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, nothing's going to work out, and being like, that's not reasonable. Turn the barge towards, it's possible it might work out. Just hope for the best. Keep going. I also do like to do, I do tapping, as well as I'm doing my tapping, I do some affirmations and like, I am limitless. I have the possibility to be profoundly happy, whatever comes up for you. So it wasn't just one thing, but it is getting the support system together, and then doing the reps to change the mind, because I do think it's a spiritual shift, but I also think it's a neural shift, getting all those negative neural connections to rewire into positive neural connections.
That's right. I mean, it's just like learning a new language, like rewires your brain. So like 15 minutes a day will make a difference.
Oh yeah.
That's so true. I love that. Did you say manual adjustment? Is that the phrase you used?
I think we could come up with a better name.
Okay.
And now you're inspiring me to turn the barge is how I call it. But it's essentially just a manual adjustment, even when it's painful, even when it's creaky. And eventually, though, the cool thing is it goes from being a turn the barge to, once we start doing it and putting in the reps of forcing ourselves out of negative thinking, then it becomes like turning a jet ski after a while, because the neural connections, they start mating, or I'm not a neurologist, but they're there, and it's easier for them to connect. And so then I went from, I have to think a positive thought. Like, okay, Kate, like think about, and then eventually as I kept doing that, it's like, I just noticed I'm thinking that nobody cares about me, nobody loves me. That's not true, Kate.
Right.
People love you. You love you. You have a dog named Pajamas who loves you. And then it becomes like this, I just turned the jet ski towards positivity. It does get easier.
And so, yeah, what was really helpful for me in my journey of overcoming that was recognizing my patterns for like what leads up to a depressive spell.
Yep.
And what of those patterns are in my control, like that kind of thing. Yeah. There's a lot of ways to move a barge.
Yeah.
You
can put it on a tow truck.
Yeah.
Another barge can push another
There
barge. You can turn it.
A big wave.
Yeah. I love this. We've just totally blown that open now. And it's like, any way you can move the barge.
Yeah.
Move it.
Yeah. If you need a wave to move the barge, then put yourself in line for a wave, right?
Or call somebody up and say, I need a wave.
Yeah.
Right? Like, be my wave.
Yeah. That's key. Yeah.
It's not easy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to turn the show barge a little bit.
All right.
Do you like tacos?
Love tacos.
Yeah.
Austin, hey.
What?
Yeah, I just had to have a burrito because I was in Arizona.
Okay.
And, you know,
they're more
burrito people at California and Arizona, so.
Really?
And even Nevada, yeah.
Okay.
The guy brought me, my friend's boyfriend brought me dinner, and he was supposed to bring tacos, and he came back with burritos. Because I think it's just like east of a certain state, then we get into tacos.
Okay.
Do you like tacos?
Yeah. I mean, I was a burrito person, but now that I've been here and there's like a taco place every street, like there's a taco place as many tacos as there are Starbucks or more.
Oh, yeah.
So like I've had to get into tacos. Like, I love a good taco. I like Taco Deli, Tarchi's tacos. I've had like the different taco trucks, like good stuff. Do you have a favorite taco place here in town?
Oh, man, I do like me some Veracruz for sure. And I'm blanking on the other one that I like. It's on the corner of Lamar and Old Torf, and they have another location on South Congress. It starts with a P, but I've been out of Austin a lot this year. So if you know that place, it's very good.
Not Maudie's or Mods.
No, it's like there's like 2 tables inside. It's not really like a full restaurant. Okay. I'll think of it. But there's so many delightful ones. But if you do go into Burrito Land, if you do make it to California, everyone has to try the California burrito.
Okay.
Do you know what is the California burrito?
No, I'm guessing it has avocado in it though.
It can.
Okay.
But the most important ingredient in a California burrito is French fries.
Ooh, what?
It's a carne asada burrito with French fries inside the burrito, and it's just as amazing as you would think it would be.
Wow.
I feel like we should come up with some Texas tacos and make them have fries in them, because everything's better with potatoes in it.
There would have to be a Texas taco has to have like barbecue, like Stubbs barbecue sauce or something. But yeah, a Texas taco. Yeah, I'm sure there are. I just don't know what they are. I went down to San Antonio and I got to go to like the neighborhood where Tex-Mex was developed, like the flavors of Tex-Mex was developed.
Ooh.
And that's some good tacos down there, like enchiladas and tacos and stuff. Yeah.
The real Tex-Mex.
The real Tex-Mex.
Whatever that is. Whatever that is.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. We're over halfway.
Cool. It's all black.
You're such a spitfire that I have to like make sure that I slow down so I can catch everything.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
I like it. I mean that as a good thing, not as a bad thing. You know, spitfire can mean multiple things. I mean,
yes. Yeah. Well, my dog, she's pretty chill.
Yeah.
But she's, I do remember from 101 Dalmatians?
Yeah.
And they have that scene where all the people are walking down the street with their dogs and they look so similar.
Yes.
I love this phenomena because I think it's like largely true, actually, and I think it's also true with couples, like anyone that you spend a lot of time with, whether it's your dog or your partner, I think you end up just sort of meshing to a degree.
Sure.
But I really love being on the lookout for dogs who look like their owners and vice versa, and just noticing how a lot of times the energy of the dogs pick up on the owner's energy and vice versa, and how they often have the same energetic qualities. But yeah, Pajamas and I are kind of...
How did Pajamas get their name?
Similar. Well, first, of course, I wanted to give the scary pit bull, quote unquote, a whimsical name just to disarm people.
Sure.
And also, I had been going to shelters all over Austin looking for a dog, and I came across a dog that was all white. It was a white pit bull with blue eyes, and it was so beautiful and sweet, and this dog was blind.
Okay.
And the dog's name was Pajama Sam. And I really, really liked this dog, Pajama Sam. It was a great dog. But I was like, I don't know if I'm really prepared to take on a blind dog. And I just, for some reason, this doesn't feel like my dog. So I left Pajama Sam behind that day. I did not adopt Pajama Sam. And a few weeks later, I came across my dog, who I knew instantly was my dog. And I decided to name her Pajamas, sort of inspired by Pajama Sam. But I don't know if you've ever heard of the Dodo, but it's an online content creation. They make all those cute videos with dogs and cats and birds and babies and things. Well, a couple years ago, I came across a video done by the Dodo of that Pajama Sam.
No.
Yeah. And it was the whole premise of this cute little heartwarming video was about how Pajama Sam got adopted into this family with this little 2-year-old girl, and they had this instant unbreakable bond, and that they were just inseparable, this dog and this child, and they grew up together because at this point now, the family had Pajama Sam for like 6 or 8 years, and it was this whole heartwarming story. And I was like, it wasn't my dog. Pajama Sam was not meant to be mine. And what a happy ending that this blind dog got adopted into this family with this little girl, that they were like soulmates.
Yeah. Aw, I love that. I love the Dodo. That's great. When you know, you just know. I feel that way about places I've lived, like walking in the first time, you're like, oh, this is it, you know.
A house or a city? Are you saying both?
Yeah. I mean, for cities, I usually know that before I even get there. But like if I'm unsure about a place, I allow myself to be, like, I make sure I'm open enough to like it if I'm unsure. There really hasn't been anywhere I've been though where I'm like, nah. You know.
Yeah.
But
you're adaptable.
Yeah. Well, because I did move around a lot, so yeah, I fundamentally believe we can be happy wherever we are because you're intrinsically happy. You just have to figure out what you need in each location. I will admit that it did take me a while to figure out how to find that here in Austin. One of the things I relied on was public transportation.
Yeah.
And also I like cold weather. So that took me a minute.
Yeah. There's some curves there to learn.
Yeah.
And what's a city that you just feels like home whenever you go?
New York City.
New York City?
Yeah. But also any place with a beach. So I was in New York for 17 years, and a friend died, and it was like very sudden, and I was like, well, that can happen to me, right? So like, what would be one thing I regret from my awesome life? Like, I did everything I wanted. Like, what would be the one thing? And it would be living next to a beach. Like, I had always wanted to live back in California, so I picked up everything and was ready to head out west, and then moved here, supposed to be temporary to help my parents with some medical stuff. They're great now. And then COVID happened. And so now I'm here.
And here we are today.
That's right.
Cool. Well, the beach is waiting for you.
That's right. That's right.
Where are you going to go
Well-
when you get to California?
Well, originally I had thought LA, but after I went to San Francisco last year and really loved that. I really like walkable cities. So after living here in a driving city, I'm not sure that LA is the place for me.
Yeah, it's totally driving
Yeah.
everywhere, you know.
Yeah. So we'll see. But after I leave here, the first year, I'll just do a lot of traveling. I've got, you had mentioned Africa. I also want to pick a place in Africa. So the first year I leave, I want to I'm going back to Japan. I'll go to Chile, Switzerland, and then I want to pick a place in Africa.
What an amazing adventure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I haven't yet. Like, a lot of people suggest Morocco, and I feel like that's a good entry point.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
You know, I've seen Casablanca. But yeah, I mean, I like a good surf city too, so maybe that'll help narrow it down. I've got until 2026 to help to really realize this plan. So,
and so you're going to visit these cities, or like spend several months in each place?
I'm thinking at least a month in each place. Like I've had a week in Tokyo, so I want to spend like at least a month, maybe 6 weeks in Japan and like see more of the country. They have a beach there that is snow, sand, ocean. Yeah. I gotta say that. Yeah. And like I've been to in and outside of Zurich, but haven't been to like too many other places in Switzerland. Yeah, so like a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. Chile, like I want to see that whole coast, so that might take longer than a month. Yeah, but yeah, because the show will be on the road, and I'll just be filming stuff, right?
And it's going to be beautiful.
That's right.
And you're going to get such a deeper color and culture of the place, meeting people, drawing them, connecting with people.
Yeah. I'm studying 3 languages at the moment.
Only 3? Oh my goodness. What an underachiever you are.
Well, one of them I've been studying since like 5th grade, Spanish. Like, I've been, grew up in Texas and California. Like you have to learn some Spanish, right? I feel like it's disrespectful not to.
Totally.
So Spanish, and I still just practice that. And I've been a tourist in Spanish-speaking countries, so I feel like I can be a tourist.
You can do it.
I can do that. And then Japanese, that's a doozy, but it's all right. I'm working on it. And then Italian, because I'm half Italian, half German, and then also they speak Italian in Switzerland.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like get it all in there and see how that goes. And then after I like rock those languages, eventually I also want to learn Korean. Because I think Seoul will also be on my list of places to go. Well, but now we're talking years ahead.
Oh, good. Like make the list.
Yeah.
Have things to look forward to.
Oh yeah.
What a vibrant life.
Oh yeah. I'm very fortunate to have the life I have. I mean, you too. You have a super vibrant life.
Some days, like I said, some days I'm Kate the Great. Other days I'm just Kate. Like,
I hear that.
But yeah, that's part of it. You know, one of the things I'm learning, still definitely learning all the time, is that some years ago, not some years ago, really, even just maybe in the last year, is, I've always been like, I love life. Yeah. I love being alive. And then when I would encounter challenge and struggle and pain, like I did last year, I would just be like, oh, this is horrible. There's nothing redeeming about this. And then I realized, oh, I'm kind of a fraud if I think that way, because life is the full spectrum of life. And I think that part of life is learning we don't have to want the bad times. I mean, maybe if we're quite enlightened, maybe we get to that stage, but to learn to appreciate the hard times as part of being alive, and the positive things that they can bring to us in terms of growth. That's right. I call them our sand grains, right? Like if my sand grain could be anything, my career, financial concerns, or a particular family member, a disability, a loss. Those are my sand grains. If I'm the oyster, then the pearl is the pearl of personal growth that comes from that friction.
Wow, you have great metaphor, analogies, imagery.
I've been working on it. Thanks. Usually I'm like, this is what you should think. Just get it. And I realize we learn, and myself included, we learn better with metaphors and analogies.
Well, yeah, we communicate through stories.
Stories.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, even just in this interview, you've told so many stories about yourself. And it really paints a good picture of who you are.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I should come up with another good story. I have a kind of a crazy story to tell.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy.
Okay.
So, all right. I was in college.
Yeah.
And I was going to college at UC Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Or I started at the community college, which was awesome. I highly recommend that because you save a lot of money. So I was either at the community college in Santa Barbara, or I had already transferred to the university. But I went to high school in San Diego. So I would, during the summers off from college, I would go and spend a lot of time down in San Diego.
Okay.
Well, one summer I was down in San Diego, and it was right before I was supposed to go back up to Santa Barbara for school. And I ran into this guy that I kind of knew of in Santa Barbara. Like, we had never hung out, but I had seen him at parties. Like, I generally knew who he was.
Yeah.
And we saw each other at this party, and I mentioned that I was driving back up to Santa Barbara the next day. And he's like, oh, cool. Can I catch a ride with you? Yeah. And truth be told, I knew that he was not a super upstanding citizen. I knew that he was a party guy and definitely seemed kind of rough around the edges. But I was like, whatever, I'm just giving him a ride. So the next morning, we get together and we start this journey. And I had wanted to stop off in Long Beach to visit a friend of mine. Okay. And so we stop off and we're driving through Long Beach. And all of a sudden, there are lights and sirens behind me. And he's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And I was like, oh, don't worry about it. My registration's expired on my car. I knew I was going to get pulled over, but I'm going to get it done. I'm sure they'll just let us go.
Yeah.
Well, I pull over to the side of the road, and as soon as I hit the brake on the side of the road, this guy throws open my car door and runs from the vehicle. And I'm like, that escalated quickly, right? What's going on? Wow. And so the cop runs out of his car. He calls for backup. He tackles the guy on the side of the road in Long Beach. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then before I knew it, some other cop is pulling me out of the driver's seat and putting me in the back of a cop car. Okay. And so I'm sitting in the back of the cop car. This is circa 2004, just for context. Okay. I did not do this. This has not happened to me recently. This is a long 20 years ago. So I'm in the back of the cop car, and I don't know where he was. I think he was in cuffs or on the ground, or maybe he was in a different cop car. Sure. But now I'm seeing them starting to search my vehicle. Okay. And I'm like, okay, whatever. They're pulling stuff out of my back seat. They open up the trunk, and I'm trying to look through the window from the back of the cop car. What the heck they're doing? Just let this be over, right? Yeah. And before I know it, pulling out of my wheel well in the back of my car, they pulled out a pillowcase size full of white pills in a clear plastic bag. And I'm like, oh, my life is over.
Oh, no.
What? And so before I know it, then there's like a camera in my face and they're like questioning me on camera about this enormous quantity of probably illegal pills that they found in my trunk.
Sure.
So I get thrown in jail in
gosh.
Long Beach, California. And, I'm sitting in like the Long Beach jail, which is, it's not like LA County, it's just the jail. But one day, for whatever reason, they put me on the bus, like the jailbird bus, to take me to LA County to see the judge. And while I was on the bus, I'll never forget, I'm just sitting here like, I was literally in the first seat right behind the driver because I just wanted to be somewhere where there was like someone who could like protect me. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, nobody talked to me. Like I'm actually not usually that scared around. I have been in jail before when I was in college. I got like a drunk in public once walking around Santa Barbara.
Sure.
And so, going to jail actually is not the worst thing if you're not in big trouble, depending on the circumstances. Because you meet a lot of very interesting people. But on this bus, I was like, this does not feel good. Of course, some girl comes up behind me and she's like, hey, do you want a hit of, I don't even know what she was offering me. So I had to decline drugs while I was being held in jail on a potential drug charge. And I was like, no, I'm good, thanks. I'm good. So I had to go to LA County. I meet more interesting people because you're in holding cells for like hours.
Yeah.
So I make it back. For whatever reason, I didn't see the judge. They send me back to the Long Beach jail. And a couple days later, they let me out. And in my naive 19-year-old brain or whatever, however old I was, I thought, oh, thank gosh, that's over.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who came to pick me up. I ended up having to get my car out of impound and all this stuff. Yeah. So anyways, I make it back up to Santa Barbara. I'm living my life. Until about 2 or 3 weeks later, my dad calls me and he says, Kate, we received a letter that says that you are being charged by the state of California with 28 counts of possession of a controlled substance with intent to sell. And we looked it up and it has a maximum prison sentence of 18 years.
Oh my gosh.
And I am freaking out.
Yeah.
Right? Like my stomach drops. And thank God my dad got me a lawyer at that time. I think it was like a couple $1,000s, maybe $3,000 on this lawyer.
Oh my God.
And I had to go to multiple court dates. And eventually my lawyer had recommended that I create what's called a character packet. And I was like, what's a character packet? He said, well, just write down all the ways that you're an upstanding citizen, your grades, any jobs that you've held, any letters of recommendation. Okay. So I did that. And at the last minute, I decided to put my high school senior picture that I had. You remember those wallets of our high school? And I have one that I'm like looking like an angel. My hands are like this and I'm looking up. And I just decided at the last minute to tape one to the front of this character packet that I like printed off at the college that I was going to. Well, that day I saw the judge and then my lawyer was invited back into the judge's chambers and he put the story that he told me later was, hey, I put that character packet on the desk in front of the judge and he opted to believe you and dismiss all of the charges. And the reason that happened is because I'm white, right? Yeah. Because if I was another race, I would be in prison. And that's absolutely deplorable and absolutely horrible. However, I was set free. Yeah. The charges were dismissed. Yeah. Under like I had to make a promise and sign a paper that if I ever ran into that guy again that I had to turn him in, otherwise I was gonna get in trouble or whatever. Sure. And the reason that I tell this story, other than it's a crazy story, because I literally could have gone to prison I probably wouldn't have served 18 years. I probably would have been 2, 4, 6 years, something like that. I would have been a prison lady. Yeah. Yeah. And the lesson that I take from that story is like, the smallest decisions can have actually a really huge impact on our life, right? Like the smallest decision, I'm going to give this kind of shifty guy a ride. And before I knew it, I was being used as a drug mule and could have ended up in prison for a big part of my life. And so I was almost a jailbird.
Wow. Man.
Be careful, kids. Literally, one decision, hanging out with the wrong people. That's what the parents say to us. Oh, you hang out with the wrong kids. And this is a time that literally hanging out with the wrong guy could have forever changed I would have had a felony on my record, you know?
Wow, yeah. finishing up here.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The artist in her work. It's been such a pleasure to just watch you working. Every time I see you rotating the canvas, I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah. Okay. So, you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're going to make me cry.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it. I mean, you're really beautiful, so it makes sense that a portrait of you would be beautiful.
It's so soft. It's so funny because I usually feel like I'm such a hard, brash person, but this painting is really, it's bright colors, but it's really also soft, and it's really touching my heart.
Good. Yeah. I usually try not to blend the colors, but you like I said, are a spitfire, and sometimes I just couldn't keep up.
Thank you so much.
Yes, my
Jenny.
pleasure.
Thank
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Kate.
It's an absolute honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the show.
Thank you so much. I want to give you a hug. It's so freaking
I'm so
beautiful.
glad you like it. I'm so
Wow.
glad you like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad that you like it.
It really is just, it's amazing. I'm so grateful to hang it up.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
But yes,
Oh
I have
my
a
gosh.
gift for you. Just thank you for this unique experience. Truly, I've never done anything like this before.
Oh my gosh.
And like I said, this is what I encourage everyone to do, which is to just
Yeah.
let our freak flags fly, make
Yes.
things up as we go, and follow our
Yes.
passions. And so
Oh
that's
my
what Living Like You
gosh.
Might Die Tomorrow is all about.
Oh
So
my gosh. Thank you so much. I love it. Can I give you a hug?
yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you.
You got a copy of a signed copy of my book in there, and my workbook, and a sticker. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Oh, and if you prefer an audiobook, I have a kind of a funny audiobook. I even sing on it. I'll send you a free copy of my audiobook.
Yes, yes. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Oh
Jenny.
my gosh, thank you. This is so great.
Good.
A hug again?
Yes,
yeah.